Hello, internet denizens and horrifically educated people everywhere. Welcome to another reading room. And today we're doing Fundamentalist Fails and we're doing a part 2, which is great. And I want to give a big shout out to Pinworm, aka Barnaby Wild, for this suggestion. As the first time, it was really great. Although I was getting a bit ranty towards the end. I think that in stuff like this, the promotion of all of these conspiracy theories and these horrible things, as somebody pointed out last week, it was just sort of casually racist all the way through, saying that Native Americans were these primitive people huddled in caves and things like that. And I do agree with that. I had to think about it over the last week, and I thought, yeah, that really is. Barnaby, I want to give you a big thank you for everything, and really pointed out that, hey, it's a lot of vilification going on in that era. And I do agree with that. Sort of, so you have people who inhabit islands, and under colonialism, you sort of say, hey, they're just a primitive people with they're basically, during the colonization, a lot of natives were seen as animals. They were seen as people that couldn't think about their situation or put anything together. And I think that a lot of the stuff that he has that overtone to it. I'll clarify. It doesn't have that overtone to it. He's basically going, well, these people aren't the primitives that we thought they were, kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, we used to think, and they really did promote that during the time, but we haven't thought that for many, many years. That's the whole point, and that's why we have this idea of, things like critical race theory, going, well, how does the previous generations and the previous cultures of ours view the people who were native to these countries, like to Africa, to Native Americans, to Aboriginal people in Australia, how they viewed them and how they were wrong, and what sort of hangover that puts on our perspective now. How do our institutions reflect the institutions back there, or back then, when they used to think these people are animals and inferior and not able to produce the things that the superior races do? All of that was happening back then. And it certainly is a thing. But to go now, well, we were, there must have been a race of giants doing all of this. It still is playing into that idea that, hey, these people couldn't possibly have done the things that they did. Like the Incas and the Aztecs that built amazing structures. I know that the Incas, especially, and the Mayans, had this really novel way of farming, this step farming, that on mountains that went down. Basically, they built it out and then it dropped, and then it was terrace farming. Sorry, I was trying to think of the name of it. Terrace farming, amazing innovation, like incredible and sophisticated, and nobody in the West was doing that, but they were, and very successfully too. It enabled their civilization to grow much larger than it would have ordinarily. But they have this idea that, oh, they didn't know about superior Western agriculture and stuff. No, they did. They did. And the rich soil that the South American natives used as sort of a fertilizer and an activated soil all in once was actually incredible. They understood a lot about that kind of stuff. So this whole idea of, oh, well, there must have been some race of giants because they couldn't have been that knowledgeable. They just were. Sorry. But this is part 2 to Roger's rabbit hole adventure. This is sort of called The Rabbit Hole, and a guy called Roger Turpin came out with it. It kind of is funny in a way. It kind of is baffling in a way. It kind of is frustrating in a way, because the stuff that he comes out with, as I said in the first one, he never cites anything. Like, he just says, hey, there's rumors of this. Great. Someone found some old coins from the Roman era in America, like hidden in a pouch. Is that any reason to think that Romans were over in ancient, Mesopotamian peoples were over in, you know, Paleolithic North America. No, that's no reason to think that at all. But it doesn't stuff him. It doesn't stuff my big bad mama. Good to see you, my friend. So good to see you. But let's get going. It's a wild ride. I'm here for it. It's Friday. It's Fundamentalist Files. This is my relaxed time. To be honest with you, this is a time that I get to watch stupid stuff. So I hope you can join me some real stupidity. I need some emotional support, to be honest with you.
A silver mine out west, and money was no object. If he didn't find it himself, he would purchase entire collections. He wanted the very best, and this attracted visitors from across the world. The museum's collection of ancient antiquities and fossils were so impressive that members of the Smithsonian came to visit and praised it for its contents. He also sent them artifacts.
So his big deal, Roger's big deal, is that there used to be giants in North America, and the Smithsonian's going around destroying all this evidence of the giants, which it isn't happening. Like, it's just not. And there was a joke article about them destroying bones of giants, but that's essentially where he's going.
And received a receipt on Smithsonian letterhead. As you might have guessed, not one item of William Borden's artifacts are recorded in the Smithsonian catalog. This is a smoking gun.
Well, it's an active catalog. They might not be active. Like, that's the thing.
Gun that indicates something just isn't right. After William passed away, his exquisite fossil collection was sent to the Natural History Museum in Chicago. It's still listed in their catalog as being from the Borden collection. And yet, a lifetime of ancient artifacts, including those from burial mounds, are all gone. John Collette was the state geologist after Edward Cox, and was a legend in his own right.
That was Richard Borden, right? Yeah, they've got a list of Borden's work. It's in the archives. You have to actually look in the archives because it's not in their active their active collection. Field books, collections, field book, field notes. Division of Mammal Collection, G. Sheldon and Richard Borden. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
Coming from a wealthy family, he didn't need a job, but chose to pursue a career in geology as he was interested in fossils and ancient artifacts.
Yeah, a lot of the rich people of England did. They sort of amused themselves with geology and sort of just studying anatomy, and they were the natural philosophers. It's kind of good that they did because they were the sort of precursors to our modern day scientists. Yeah, it's kind of this weird thing that they kind of did. They'd either do that or go into religion, so out of the two, one was definitely more useful.
In fact, he started collecting as a kid at Terre Haute. As a lifelong bachelor, he devoted an immense amount of time and energy into investigating Indiana's ancient past. So devoted to this work that he even supplied his own money to ensure the field work got done. Whenever crews were building roads or railroad tracks and found something unusual, they called John. In one case, he investigated woolly mammoths found by workers as they dug the Erie Canal. They were so well preserved by the swamp that workers cracked open the bones and used the marrow to wax their boots. He investigated burial mounds that were found by farmers, including a large one at Lawrence County. At the top of Old Palestine was a large mound covered in flagstone. The mound was over 20 feet across and was a treasure trove of ancient artifacts.
Okay.
On the upper layers were prehistoric.
Yeah, so this is sort of the burial mounds in Indiana, and sort of they're very well known. Apparently, I was sort of surprised they're very well known, but they're sort of, I believe, indigenous burial mounds. They're not. I'm not sure what he's going to say. What we're going to find in here, but
were prehistoric tools, followed by a stone burial chamber with 3 levels. On the first were the skeletons of women and children. The next,
where is this? I don't think they were like prehistoric kind of thing. I don't think they were Paleolithic. They were sort of I don't know which ones he's talking about. Let me see if I can find it.
usual, they called John. In one case, he investigated woolly mammoths found by workers as they dug the Erie Canal. They were so well preserved by the swamp that workers cracked open the bones and used the marrow to wax their boots. He investigated burial mounds that were found by farmers, including a large one at Lawrence County. At the top of Old Palestine was a large mound covered in flagstone.
Old Palestine burial mounds. I don't think that's going to bring up what I think it is. Like, he isn't really. Usually they're called something. Lawrence County mounds in Indiana. Not sure they were Paleolithic. 4,000 to 1,000 BC. Yeah, so that's not, that is definitely ancient, but I'm not sure about that one.
Flagstone. The mound was over 20 feet across and was a treasure trove of ancient artifacts. On the upper layers were prehistoric tools, followed by a stone burial chamber with 3 levels. On the first were the skeletons of women and children. The next were all men. The last appeared to be that of royalty. It contained 2 skeletons, a little over 6.5 feet tall. These skeletons had copper breastplates, earrings, spearheads, and what was described.
No, they didn't. What are you talking about? I don't. They found stone implements, a copper breastplate. I'm not reading that here. And this is from the Lawrence County Historical Society. What? Indiana copper. Nope. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Bono and Lawrence County shell mound sites. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so this is the stuff that we're finding from it. Prehistoric tools made of the bones of deer and fish, carved hooks, middle to late archaic period, and that's the period that we're talking about, but 4,000 to 1,000 BC. Weights of schist rose quartz, that's stone, archaic woodland, freshwater mussel shells, Of course, stone arrowheads, there's no copper breastplates found here. There's copper and shell artifacts, like little bracelets maybe, but, copper's been worked for a very, very long time. I don't get how, like, there was no copper breastplate. That's not true. There's small copper artifacts because copper has been worked for ages, and 4000 to 1000 BC is about the time where copper, just before the Bronze Age. Hmm, that's what I thought, Big Bad Mama. Yeah, this is not. Well, he didn't say Paleolithic, he said prehistoric, I think, which, I'm not even, it is prehistoric because it's before a historic record, but that's very, very sort of, you know, that's a bit iffy.
Described as a war whistle.
Okay.
Copper body armor is not a known artifact of Native Americans.
What? What? Uh, yeah, no, I'm right. That's a total load of horse crap. Okay, so this is from Science magazine. Ancient Native Americans were among the world's first coppersmiths. People worked ore nearly 10,000 years around the Great Lakes. Like, just because you don't know that they worked copper doesn't mean that they didn't. Like, this is so stupid. I He wants to paint this picture that they had no knowledge of copper. They had no knowledge of anything because it supports his narrative that there was a race of giants doing it. That's why he's saying it. But they did. Like, just because you're ignorant that they did doesn't mean that they did. But I want to point out that these weren't found at that site.
However, ancient war whistles are known to come from the Aztec civilization. This would definitely be an out-of-place artifact. It could suggest Aztecs migrated to what's now the United States.
What? I think that's highly unlikely, but I mean, I'm not going to say that none of them went that far north. Like, I think that would be a bit of a stretch, but a migration is sort of, we would see more than one war whistle, Aztec war whistle in a migration. You would see a lot of Aztec artifacts.
Combined with known copper tools and jewelry made by the
Yeah,
Aztec
exactly,
culture,
Barnaby.
a very compelling case could be made.
No, no, a very compelling case isn't being made. You're just basically assuming that the people native to that area couldn't use copper or didn't make copper when in fact we know they did, especially around the Great Lakes areas. So where is Indiana from the Great Lakes? I don't actually know. Isn't it a lot further south? Oh no, it's around that area. Okay, so it's not that far away. Sorry, my US geography is pretty tragic. Um, so it's just south of Michigan. Okay. So that's the perfect area for the people that made copper artifact. That is entirely what we would expect to see.
The report stated that these items were sent to the State Museum in Indianapolis. But none of these spectacular finds are in the state catalog today.
Oh, so the state museum's in on it as well. Even though when I go through like the Lawrence County Historical Society, they basically list all of that stuff, and none of the copper stuff that you've said is in them, except for some copper bracelets. It's probably because they never found copper armor there, and all of the things that they never found it, is probably why it's not in the catalog, I would imagine, because you thought they found copper armor when it wasn't copper armor. Like, your ignorance isn't a reason for them to change their records.
Log today. In 1875, Professor Collette visited Elkinsville, Indiana, to investigate a prehistoric site, now known as Browning Mountain. Pioneers in the early 1800s had described a stone wall, about 4 feet high, that ran a long distance along the hilltop, as if it was an ancient city. By the time Professor Collette surveyed the site, the rock wall had been dismantled for building homes, but he did find what resembled ruins from an ancient culture.
Okay. Some people put some rocks there. I don't even know. I mean, the last time this guy said there was a wall, it actually was just a natural formation, so I'm kind of hesitant, but okay.
In his report, he described the site as grand cubes, 3 by 4 feet, and pillars, 3 by 4 by 20 feet long, ready squared and dressed as from a giant's workshop, are scattered along the crest of the hill.
From a giant's workshop. Okay, buddy. Okay, so they're square and you think they're dressed.
Whether he intended to suggest that giants had built a fortification or was using the term poetically was unclear.
I think he was using the. I don't think he was saying that giants made the stones there. I think, yeah, he's basically saying, hey, they've got some big stones. Oh God, why?
Unclear. Even more so was what happened to his massive collection of artifacts. At the time, his primary job was a geologist in helping Indiana map its natural resources, not archaeology. One could speculate that the ancient artifacts went to his house in Terre Haute, but no one knows what happened to it. In addition, his brother Josephus, also a lifelong bachelor, had a large collection of ancient artifacts as well.
What is the thing about this guy going on about their lifelong bachelors? Does that have anything to do with, maybe he's going to say, hey, they were Freemasons as well? Because he's sort of taken that tangent. Freemasonry is destroying all of these artifacts. It's a bit weird.
According to a newspaper article of the time, he had 14,000 specimens stored in the rooms next to his office, which is full enough of archaeological, geological, and natural history specimens to enrich the cabinets of a university. When he passed away, the newspaper noted how he gave away millions to family and charitable causes, but no mention of the artifacts.
Well, do you think maybe he sold the artifacts for money? Like, as much as it sucks, there's a large black market, and sort of about that time, people used to sell artifacts all the time. There's private collectors. Like, what is weird about this?
Of the artifacts. Both men are buried in their hometown of Terre Haute.
So basically he's going, well, I don't know what happened to them, therefore conspiracy to destroy them. And that isn't necessarily the case. You could just sell to private collectors, and, you know, for all intents and purposes, because we don't have the same record keeping that back then that we do today, and there's no regulation on, you know, a guy from a wealthy family just selling artifacts. You could just do it, and nobody was keeping track of it. Nobody was trying to, you know, today we would go, hey, these are very precious objects, and the people of the country have an interest, a stake in what happens to them, because they are sort of artifacts from that country or from that area. We're going to regulate, register, and track all of this. Back then, it was just free for all. Like, you could just do whatever you wanted with your property. So, you know, the guy gave away a lot of money. Yeah, he probably sold all of the artifacts he found. It's not. It doesn't have to be a conspiracy.
But both of these massive collections have simply vanished. The most astounding case of missing artifacts is that of Glenn Black. Born in Indianapolis, he devoted his life to the pursuit of ancient cultures, all across Indiana. He is most famous for excavating the Angel Mound site at Evansville. Bankrolled by Eli Lilly of Lilly Pharmaceuticals, money and time were no issue. And an incredible number of artifacts were found and documented.
Okay. The Angel Mound site. At least he's given the site name. That's a start. That's a start, right? Okay. So an incredible amount of artifacts. What was found there? 2.4 million artifacts. Mississippian carved stone statue. Cool. That's cool.
Over 2.5 million. Glenn worked the Angel Mound site until he died, collapsing on the site itself. For decades, the Angel Mound's Interpretive Center housed a fair number of ancient artifacts.
Okay, what's your point? I mean, I don't get his point. Hey, he showed this whistle before. I've seen that whistle. He's shown it before in some other context. You're reusing footage, sir. That's not on. He used this in another context before.
However, it's now closed indefinitely for quote-unquote renovations. The rest of his massive artifact collection went to Indiana University at the Glenn Black Lab and Museum. This museum is also closed indefinitely for renovations.
So most of it's the most recent preservation efforts. The Indiana University Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology in Bloomington, Indiana, would be where it's all the records are created and cared for. They basically apparently the Save America's Treasures grant administered by the National Park Service and the Institute of Museum and Library Services, they're making an effort to rehouse the collections elsewhere. Closed for renovations indefinitely. I'm not sure about that one, Chief. Well, it says temporarily closed. It doesn't say closed indefinitely. Um, hang on. No, they closed. They had a name change, the Indiana University Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. And it said that it's basically scheduled to reopen in 2023. So it's not indefinitely. They said they would reopen. Indian University. Then we get something on a website. Well, they've got an upcoming event that he might be interested in. Hold it. So this is the Indiana University Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. They've got an event coming up on Tuesday, April 30th, 2024 at noon that he might be interested in because it's Lake Superior's native copper industry, archaic copper production systems and values in the northern Lake Superior Basin. So Dr. Ryan Peterson is talking about archaic copper production. It might help you. It might, and they've got Tai Chi. Okay, don't tell me it's closed when it has Tai Chi. But you might want to go to this this talk on copper production because you don't seem to understand that Native Americans produced copper. It might be helpful for you, Roger, to understand these things. Yeah, it's fine, Robin. I'm just doing my thing. It's all fine. It's all good. All good. Yeah, so yeah, not only is it not closed indefinitely, they're going to be explaining all of the copper stuff that they found. Wow. Yeah, no, we need to fact check this man. Fact check this man.
Out of the over 2.5 million artifacts collected, not one is on public display. Glenn Black was not the first.
But they're giving talks on it. What do you mean it's not on public display? I don't like they have stuff in the archives. They don't put everything out all at once. You do realize that's how museums work, don't you? But there is a man giving a talk and showing the artifacts that you're talking about. It's not a conspiracy to hide the truth when some dude is standing up giving lectures about it, dude. My sound? Which sound? Which sound? Where? My sound? Oh crap. Give me one sec. Sound is bad. Bad sound. Bad sound. Terrible sound. Terrible, terrible sound. I'm gonna quickly listen in. No, it's fine. It's fine. It seems fine. So let me listen to the video. Let me listen to the video for a sec. Oh, sound's not coming through. Hold it. Yeah, yeah, video bad. Give me one sec. I'm just going to. What time is it? Oh, okay. Let me close down that. I'll try reopening it because StreamYard's being sucky. StreamYard's being very, very sucky. Okay. Okay. Um, Damn it, I closed that window. Okay, give me one sec. I'm just gonna have a look at that's not coming through. That sound isn't coming through, is it? That's definitely not coming through, is it? Uh, Why you do this to me? But I'm just gonna go out and I'll be right back. I'm just gonna refresh this. Why you doing this to me? Ah. Okay. StreamYard, behave. Audio is on. Yes. Share.
Indefinitely for renovations.
Are you hearing that? Is anybody?
Out of the over 2.5 million artifacts collected, not one is on public display. Glenn Black was not the first to have a lifetime of work disappear.
There we go.
Nor would he be the last.
Oh, come on, dude. I love how the music's all sinister and stuff. It's just hilarious. Yeah, thank you, Robin.
Strangely, the ancient Cahokia Museum in Illinois, home of the largest mound in the United States, is also closed indefinitely for renovations. Angel Mounds, the Glenn Black Collection at Indiana University, and Cahokia, all closed around the same time.
Yeah, the thing is that the Glenn Black is now the Indiana University Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, and it's actually open. Like he's just looking at the old name and going, "Well, it's closed."
Under the auspices of renovation. It could be a simple coincidence, but it could also be that the narrative of ancient North America is being revised.
It's being revised. History's always being revised. We're always learning things new about anthropology and archaeology. Like it's sort of, we add things to it. I don't. But considering he's been wrong about, oh, the Native American culture did not do copper, when clearly they did. They did. Yeah, well, I don't want to speed it up too much, Barnaby, because people have sort of said to me, hey, if we want to speed you up, you can't hear what the video's saying. So there's only a certain amount he can, yeah, he's almost normal now that I've sped him up to 1.25.
Will we see amazing revelations of a lost world, or simply what they want us to know?
Simply what they want us to know. Oh, this conspiracy. Like, why? Why? Why would they try to convince us that sort of Native Americans could work copper when they couldn't? What's the point? I don't get the point. Black Ops?
If we were to combine the collections of David Owen, Edward Cox, William Borden, John Collette, and Glenn Black, we would have well over 3 million ancient artifacts, gone without a trace. While it could be coincidence, it is more than odd.
Well, a lot of those are based upon a whole bunch of assumptions that if a place closes, that the artifacts just mysteriously vanish. Because if that museum closes, they don't tell everybody where they send the artifacts. They will just have records of it. And that government agency is trying to find places to house the artifacts, the Preserve America's Treasure Society. I don't know what you expect, whether, they're not giving you their records of where they're sending stuff to. You can probably, like, if you're in that field, or you can probably do some digging and find out. But, it's just, if he doesn't know, then nobody knows. And this is a common theme.
It feels like suppression, like something is being hidden, and begs.
It feels like suppression. It feels like. I think you've got to like get a bit of stronger evidence than your feelings in order to show that. Like, why should we care that you feel like it's suppression? Ay, ay, ay.
So many questions. If collections of ancient items are not being lost by bad record keeping, we must consider alternative conclusions.
Oh, definitely artifacts are lost by bad record keeping. There's no question that that happens through bad record keeping. Absolutely does. And some things are found again, and we're like, oh, that's where this got to. It happens. Like, there's a lot to keep track of. It's very difficult to do so.
Maybe it really is a deliberate attempt to hide history. But why?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know. Why? Maybe Roger's going to tell us why. Roger's going to give us the whole lowdown on what's actually happening. Come on, Roger. Dazzle me.
There are several prominent theories, and some of them are very disturbing. President Ronald Reagan once said, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help." Our founding fathers were...
I don't think that's the most known. I think that's a lot of, really, that's more terrifying than, I just broke out of prison and I'm here to eat your children. Like, seriously, I don't. I think some of the most terrifying words in the English, nine most terrifying words are like, um, um, I represent the church and I'm here to help you. How about that? You too can have your soul saved by Jesus Christ, by Jesus. How about that 9 words? That's actually quite terrifying. You know, there's a lot more to, like, that's just ridiculous. Yeah, and Reagan is, yeah, that's pretty bad. Reaganomics is still causing absolute chaos. Like, this I don't know, it's just weird.
were very suspect of creating a country without checks and balances. Transparency was wanted by everyone. But as they say, we've come a long way. We now have all kinds of agencies built on the premise of protecting Americans like you and I.
This is going from lost artifacts to new world order stuff, like, so rapidly. I'm reeling with how fast this has gone to, you know. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm going to defend the sort of security agencies of the United States, but how do we get from lost artifacts to this?
Monitoring threats both outside and inside the country. The question then becomes, what's best for the American people? What should they know, and what should they never know? Why would the government, or organizations cooperating with the government, want to hide these ancient artifacts?
Fun fact: CIA isn't supposed to work within the United States. You'd probably sort of look more at the FBI and the NSA if you want to do the conspiracy theory there. Just saying.
Finding something so remarkable that it could rewrite history is one thing, but what if it made people question deeply held beliefs? This could potentially cause panic and would need to be controlled. For example, there's an ancient artifact called the Baghdad Battery found in Iraq. It's a ceramic jar with a copper tube and iron rod.
The Baghdad Battery. I remember reading about this. Yeah, archaeologists reject. It's universally rejected to, like, be a galvanic cell of some sort. Um, Yeah, so similar vessels have been examined more closely and that are in better shape. 4 clay-sealed vessels were excavated at Seleucia. Um, those vessels contained a bronze cylinder, again sealed in a pressed-in papyrus wrapper. Um, yeah, it doesn't look like a battery. Though the iron rod did project outside the asphalt plug, the copper tube did not, making it impossible to connect a wire to complete a circuit. So that's the problem here. You've got this sealed in with an iron rod coming out of it, but there's no way to connect up the copper to this. So if you've got a battery with no terminal, it won't work as a battery. It just won't.
Rod. Some have speculated that it was either used to electroplate objects or create electricity. Both ideas very controversial for an object over 2,000 years old.
Yes. And we don't think, and archaeologists and scientists have universally rejected that because there's no way to connect the copper inside to anything. It's just copper inside.
It was widely debunked by scientists, even
Yep.
though a model did produce electricity. Ironically, the Baghdad battery disappeared in 2003. Another theory about why certain objects are disappearing is atheism. Darwin's theory of evolution was replacing Christian creationist views of the world. Many unproven theories were presented as fact, based on assumptions of current natural processes.
It disappeared in 2003. Did it? Oh, right. It disappeared in 2003 to the US invasion of Iraq. Well, yeah, kind of a lot of destruction going on at that point. Yes. Yeah, a lot of destruction. That's a shame. So it was in the National Museum of Iraq. I presume the National Museum of Iraq is not still open. Maybe that's been closed for renovations as well. It was looted in 2003. Oh, no, it has since reopened. Okay. Yeah, but it was looted by people. So that isn't I mean, that isn't the American, CIA going in and stealing it. It was looted. I don't know what to tell you. But it's not like anyone's denying its existence or covering it up. The damn place was looted during a pretty big war.
Scientists estimated the Earth to be 4.5 billion years old. But what if you, as an atheist scientist, found objects that challenged or nullified your research?
Oh, an atheist scientist. So forget all of the Christian scientists that rejected it was a battery as well. You have to be an atheist scientist. Wow, okay. No, Star Song, you're wrong. It was because of atheists. Didn't you just hear them? If you're an atheist scientist, he just said if you're an atheist scientist, you want to cover it up. It was those dirty atheists again.
Scientists tell us that it takes 100 years to grow an inch of cave formation. And yet the George Rogers Clark Memorial at Vincennes, Indiana tells a different story. Totally man-made, it was completed in 1931. In just 40 years, the basement turned into a cave. Highly mineralized water leaked into the building and formations attached to pipes. The largest was a column over 11 feet tall. By natural processes, this should have taken 13,200 years, not 40. Sedimentary rock claimed to be millions of years.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I'm not sure those are like naturally formed stalactites. They may be a different kind of mineral than what forms in caves. Um, I really don't know about that one because we can make man-made stalactites and stalagmites, but they're not made of the same mineral that you find out in natural cave formations. Give me one sec. Made Yeah, they're called calthemites, and they're made out of different structures. They're derived from concrete, lime, or mortar. Um, oh god, here's the chemical equations for them. I'm just looking on how long they take. I'm not sure how long they take, but I think they're a lot faster. Yeah, so calcimite straw stalactites can grow up to 2 millimeters a day in favorable conditions. So they do a lot faster. But here's the thing, it only happens on concrete. They're not naturally occurring. They're not. So what he's looking at is not a stalagmite or a stalactite. It's a calcimite, a calthemite. It's basically a calcium leaching out of concrete that is doing that.
Years old by scientists, as included in Iron Hammer.
Really, it's going to be the hammer and rock thing again? Oh boy.
These examples challenge conventional scientific views and the assumptions of natural processes. In 1902, a petrified man was found at Evansville, Indiana. It was put on public display.
Okay, and this is what we talked about at the end of last one. This was actually a prank done by somebody, and I'll show it again. Um, uh, I can't find it. Hold on, I have to go back to the Wikipedia article and find it because it lists them all. Like it lists all of these things. Oh God, hang on a sec. Give me 1 second. I'll just do a Google image search. That might be the best way to go. Sorry about that. I did have it from last time though. Oh, where's my images? There we go. Okay.
For hundreds.
Oops. Okay, I can't seem to paste for some reason. And we paste. There we go. Mm. Seem to be having problems with this one. Give me 1 sec, I'll just save it. Just do that instead. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Yes, this was Evansville. Um, yeah, so basically it was a priest claimed there were giants living, and someone made a fake giant to fool his friend. Um, or maybe that was a different one. That was the Cardiff giant. That was the Cardiff giant. Okay, so this was Indiana. So it was a different one. Okay, it was a different one. Let's see. Not sure what this one is. All right, well, let's see his point then, I guess. I'm not sure about this one.
Hundreds to see. It was examined by many doctors, and its anatomy deemed genuine based on its vascular structures. As conversion from biological material to fossil is supposed to take thousands, if not millions of years, this artifact would create many questions about natural processes. It might even support the biblical young earth theory. The petrified man disappeared and has never been seen since. From the beginning,
Okay, so an ambitious project to improve river transportation, workers during dredging the river. John G. Eagman of Rockport, Indiana, got a job supervising dredging of gravel bars along the Evansville waterfront. As his workers were unloading a barge of sand to the riverbank, Eigenmann, according to the local newspaper accounts, noticed something that resembled a human body in the water. He ordered his men to retrieve the object. It was the body of a small man that had seemingly turned to stone. He sought a nearby building, but word soon got out. A local newspaper article and a few unnamed doctors and men of science were allowed to view the body, and several were willing to confirm Eganman's claims to the press. Petrified man fever reports went out through the state. Governor Winfield Durbin traveled down from Indianapolis and proclaimed it to be a genuine petrified human being. I don't know why a governor would know. The people clamored for information about its identity. Various theories emerged concerning how he had died, from drowning to murder. Wives identified the Stone Man as their long-lost husbands. One eventually even anonymously confessed to have killing the Stone Man during the Civil War. Not everyone believed the object was human. Evansville police chief was among those extremely suspicious of the whole affair. Even as Engenman was charging admission for public viewings of the Stone Man, one of his workers, Lois Lamb, who had helped pull the body out of the river, sued Engenman over ownership of the object. While the trial was underway, the Stone Man disappeared. Without a body, Engenman won the lawsuit, but the mystery over the Stone Man's whereabouts deepened. For his part, Engenman left Evansville in a hurry, and 1 month later he was found in Spencer County, hometown of Rockport, where he was once again charging visitors to see the Stone Man. Engenman claimed in the local paper that the Stone Man had come to life and walked the distance between Evansville and Spencer and Rockport. The Stone Man was never in the news again after that. Yeah. Yeah, no, it sounds really reputable. Yeah, no, it sounds amazingly reputable. Oh, jeez. Wow.
Beginning of European settlement of Indiana in the late 1600s, numerous giant skeletons were found. These were documented in
No, they weren't numerous. Like, people claim to have found giant skeletons, which they never be able to produce them to actually back that up.
local archives and newspapers across the state. Some of these specimens were in excess.
Yeah, so that's just a article from the time, so it's just they weren't particularly accurate at that point. Like, they just weren't.
Excess of 8 feet tall. Not to mention, buried with unusual ancient armor. While some disintegrated when exposed to air.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure they disintegrated into nothingness when opposed to air. Or there's just people making up stuff, because that kind of thing happened. And as the sort of the people sent to investigate it said, a lot of them were just, people found a femur and they said, oh, it's a giant human, because they don't realize how to tell the difference between a human femur and a mammoth femur, because they're not experts in anatomy. So this kind of thing went on all the time. It doesn't mean there's a conspiracy.
Many were displayed in county museums and courthouses and seen by hundreds. They have all disappeared. Could it be that these somehow confirmed biblical archaeology?
No, it's just people made crap up. Especially if they wanted people to come to their town, or, like the guy that you mentioned, charge people for viewing a stone giant. Which this stone giant apparently got up and walked to another town. Wow. That's, yeah.
That spoke of giants. And this conflicted with the atheist agenda.
The atheist agenda. The atheist agenda. What's that? This is great. What is the atheist agenda? What exactly is that? What's my agenda? I don't think I have an agenda for today. Maybe I could get an agenda. That's awesome.
But is there any evidence that anything has ever been suppressed? Samuel Pierpont Langley was the Smithsonian secretary from 1887 to 1906. He had a tight rein on operations. Nothing went on public display unless he approved it and its narrative. His pet project was trying to produce the first successful airplane flight, and even had a test facility built on the Smithsonian grounds. He considered the Wright brothers too unscientific, amateur, and uneducated bicycle makers, an affront to science. As best as he could, he
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely sort of some elitism back then about who could do science and who couldn't. There was a lot of elitism in general, right? So you sort of the nobility and the upper class at that point was sort of, we don't want peasants doing this kind of stuff. Like, we've come a long way since then.
He suppressed their research and progress. And yet,
yeah, there was all kinds of stuff going on. I mean, basically, even before that, back in England, you had Owen Richards, and he tried to suppress Darwin's work. That was the thing. If this is a big atheist agenda, how come a lot of these scientists were suppressed, kind of thing? Like, Darwin's work was suppressed. They tried to say he was wrong and stuff. It's not really suppression so much as just competition and sort of friction between scientists. You might as well say, hey, Tesla was suppressed by science. I don't think he was.
And yet, these two amateurs beat him to successful flight in 1903. And by the way,
Sure.
Wilbur was born in Indiana.
So, this guy's from Indiana. He seems to be hell-bent on Indiana has it out for me. I don't know what the hell's going on.
While other things were suppressed during his leadership is uncertain. But the petrified man did disappear in 1902 during his term.
Yes, and the person who had it in the next town over said it got up and walked to that town. Okay, I love how they leave this stuff out. They just leave it out. Like, the guy charging admission for it then said, "Oh, it's vanished." Skipped to the next town in a hurry, sold more admission to it, and said that it walked to the next town. That's why he didn't know where it went. And then it vanished again. Like, yeah, there's maybe a conspiracy going on, but it's not by people trying to cover this up. It's by somebody who's running a con. And you're dumb enough, you got fooled by it. What? How many years later is that? Wow. Holy crap.
Whether his suppression of information set a precedent that continues to this day is anyone's guess.
Oh, but you're going to guess, right? Like, is anyone's guess, but at the moment it's mine, and I guess yes. Oh, boy.
No conspiracy theory would be complete without a discussion of Freemasonry.
You just said it was a conspiracy theory. No discussion is complete. I know of many conspiracy theories that don't include the Freemasons, but sure. Let's get to the Illuminati. Come on. Chop, chop. Illuminati time. Let's go.
From the very beginning of our country, Freemasons have been a part of its founding. George Washington was a Mason, as well as Benjamin Franklin and Paul Revere. In fact, at least 13 men that signed the Declaration of Independence were Masons. The first recorded meeting of Masons was in 1599, though they reference secret rituals that go all the way back to ancient Egypt.
How do you know? Well, where'd you get this information from? I don't know. It's interesting to note that Ben Franklin wrote a book about Freemasonry. The Constitutions of the Freemasons. You know, it's not like it's a secret society if they're writing books about it. Like, I'm not sure it even qualifies as a secret society. But I don't think they were doing rituals that dated back to the Egyptians. Like, and if it was secret, how do you know?
By definition, the entire organization is mysterious. Their stated motto?
By definition? Oh, maybe. I don't know about that, champ.
Making good men better.
Making good men better. How dare they? How dare they? Oh, that is outrageous. Making men better. Ah, that is outrageous. That's scandalous. That's it. Tear them down. How dare they make good men better? How dare they?
But you cannot just walk into a lodge and sit in a chair on meeting night like you could at a church or synagogue. You
Yeah, it's a private club. That's like saying you can't just walk into a Boy Scout association and sit in on a meeting like you could in a church or a synagogue. So what? I don't understand. I don't understand. Oh, look, I can't just walk into a feminist movement's meeting and sit in a chair like I could in a church or a synagogue. They must be an outland organization that's looking to cover up giants. Obviously. It's a private club. It's not a religion. What are you talking about?
You must be chosen. And if you happen to be, you then have to go through many secret rituals called degrees to move up in your understanding. These secrets.
I love the horror music in the background as they're just showing like stuff, rugs and sort of things.
Can never be told to outsiders, and thus a brotherhood is formed. At the same time, a wall of mistrust that's lasted several hundred years, including a ban by the Catholic Church.
A ban by the Catholic Church. Well, look, a lot of evangelicals in the south of America think that the Catholic Church is an evil organization. Um, so I don't. Look, the Catholic Church is not my go-to for moral standing, quite frankly. Um, I get that the Catholic Church has banned them. I don't look to the Catholic Church for my moral cues. I really don't. Out of the Catholic Church and the Freemasons, I'm pretty sure the Catholic Church has done worse. I don't see many sort of Freemasons um, giving like in court and being sent to jail for molesting kids. I don't see a lot of it. I don't know about you. Maybe we're outraged at the wrong organization here. Do you think?
The founder of the Mormon religion was Joseph Smith. He was a Freemason and adopted many Masonic rituals into the religion he created. It's interesting to note that the CIA actively recruits Mormon missionaries. Masons are in every part of society.
I think that's just because they travel and they're not sort of they're not a remarkable sight. They're not sort of they don't stand out where they go. The CIA, they kind of recruit all kinds of people. They recruit people that don't look like spies, basically, because they don't look like spies. I'm not sure if they recruit Mormons over anybody else. Uh, oh, they came out with an article. Why Mormons make great federal agents. That's FBI. Does the CIA recruit them as well? Um, yeah, so they came out with an article, Why Mormons Make Great FBI Agents, but you could possibly apply it to the same thing for CIA agents. Mormon people have strong foreign language skills from missions overseas, a relatively easy time getting security clearances, and given their abstention from drugs and alcohol and a willingness to serve. Okay, well, that's fairly straightforward. I don't see why all of that makes sense to me. All of that makes sense to me, right? They have strong language skills because they often do missions abroad. They don't drink and don't use drugs. They have a willingness to serve. Obviously, most religious people do. And there was another reason, but I forget. But all of that is good reasons why they make good recruits for the FBI and CIA. And none of them have to do with covering up anything.
Society and in every corner of the globe. It's easy to assume that Freemasonry, that has so many secret rituals and people ingrained in society, has something to do with the unknown things of America. Many fictional books.
I mean, what? I wonder if he's ever read that. I wonder if he's ever read that.
Books and movies have used Masons as the phantoms in the background.
No, that actually used the Illuminati as the phantoms in the background. And it wasn't even a real organization. Like, what? It's a fiction. It's a fiction. It is totally a fiction. So the whole point of that was, so here's the thing, if you haven't read that, look, do I like Dan Brown? You know what? His books are incredibly easy to read. They're like popcorn. They're simple, they're unfulfilling, they're good. They're a good holiday book. Like if you want to go on holiday and you want to chill out and you just want to relax, they're actually pretty good because they're just bland and they're not bad. They're really easy to digest. Basically, they're just very very simple books. I'm not a fan of Dan Brown, but I don't mind his work. I really don't. They're just sort of these books that are pretty easy to they're like watching a a young adult thing. There's not going to provide you with any kind of deep, insightful meaning, except for this guy, apparently. But basically, okay, so Angels and Demons, the Illuminati in that book was basically, he basically made it up that they're all the scientists and thinkers kind of thing, like, Michelangelo contributed to it and Leonardo da Vinci contributed to it kind of thing. So that's why it was sort of the Da Vinci Code. And so the Illuminati was this conglomeration of scientists, and people were being murdered with Illuminati on their chest and ambigrams. And ambigrams are the same thing read both ways up. The thing was that it wasn't the Illuminati, it was the Catholic Church trying to implicate the Illuminati so they would. It was a whole conspiracy thing. And look, they're just nonsense. Like they really are just junk food. Absolutely, Barnaby. That's the perfect description. It is like junk food, right? But they're not any way insightful. They're just easy to read. Basically, they're really easy to read, and I appreciate that sometimes. Like I said, if you go on holiday and you don't want to read a philosophy book, it's really easy to read. They're just simple, basic. So they're good like that. But the whole point was that it wasn't the Freemasons, right? That was the whole point. The whole point was the Illuminati were scientists like Da Vinci and artists like Michelangelo. It was this movement of enlightenment kind of thing, not of Freemason. Like he hasn't read the book. And the entire organization was dead and had been dead for ages. It was just being used as a look. It doesn't really matter. It's just he doesn't understand the book.
Secret society men that steal, kill, and destroy for unknown purposes. But before we blame Masons for making ancient artifacts disappear, we have to ask, what's in it for them?
Before we blame Masons for making do we know that Masons are behind that? No, that's such a stretch. So think about how he's linked to this, right? Think about how he's linked to this. These things disappear in Indiana, and he's associated that with the Smithsonian, and he's associated that with Mormonism, and he's associated that with the founding fathers. It is just this really tenuous links between everything. And he's associated with Dan Brown's book for some reason. Ugh.
Why would they want a giant skeleton? Or proof of an ancient civilization? Even if our government wanted these things, they already have secret agencies and operatives. It's highly unlikely that Freemasons are being hired to do the legwork.
Yeah, they're not. The Mormons are considered good candidates just because of their background and the way they live their lives. But like Freemasons are just a bunch of old dudes. I don't think there's anything. There's nothing. I don't know what his point is.
And not only that, Freemasons aren't the only secret society to choose from. Yet it's always a given that people who know how to keep secrets are needed in high places.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, if you have, say, a president that tells people about the military at his golf course, it's a bad thing. Or, for instance, a president that, I don't know, takes lots of documents, even some that are top secret, and shows them to people. It's generally a bad thing. I don't know why this hey, government officials keep secrets from the public in general, therefore giants. Yeah, I don't think the public should know the nuclear launch codes. It may just be me. I don't think that should be widely spread by government officials. I don't think they should be spreading around, where all of our military is. I just as I don't know that, I don't think everybody should know that. I don't think I should know that. I don't think I should know the makeup and location of like my country's military. I think that's a bad idea.
But just maybe, these strange disappearances have nothing to do with secret societies. Rich people have collected antiquities for many centuries.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. So you've said all of this, and then go, but maybe it has nothing to do with secret societies. Okay,
When
I'm
you
on
have
board.
all the normal things that money can buy, you then want things that are nearly impossible to get. You want a challenge. During the Victorian era, rich people bought mummies from Egypt and had unwrapping parties. To them,
Yeah, yeah, they sure did. Yeah, and rich people have been buying, like I said, does this man know that private collections exist? Is he aware that private collections exist? Oh, I wonder who the biggest private collector is on Earth. Biggest the royal collection of the British royal family. You know what? I should have seen that coming. I should have seen that coming. Why didn't I see that coming? Oh, Barnaby, thank you so much. You are a member for 9 months, and I appreciate your support. Just gonna take my time out to say that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Old white dudes. Yeah, so apparently, so King Charles III is now, who, used to be Prince Charles, is now the largest collector in the world. Well, in fairness, they stole most of that. I got to call them out. They stole most of that. Yeah, so they're all private collectors. There's a whole bunch of private collectors throughout the world. Yes, usually they're very, very rich. Oh, hey, beheaded. How you doing?
them,
Yeah, it's our secret Freemasons lodge. You've got to steal a giant skeleton from somewhere in order to join. I'm sorry, without a giant skeleton, I can't let you in. I'm sorry. If you want to be part of the Reed Freemason Lodge, you're going to have to steal a giant skeleton. I'm sorry.
it was spooky and fun. At one point, mummies were ground up and used as high-end medicine.
Yeah, yeah. Oops. Barnaby Wild for $5. Microwaves be like, here's your hot bowl of spaghetti. That's true. I don't know how that relates, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Trump recognized this weakness in Americans. Sure did. And Robin Webster, member for 8 months. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Can I like this stuff, or am I not have the ability to do that? There we go. Thank you, Behead Cam. Welcome to the Masonic Lodge. Say 3 Satan satanic prayers and join us in the excursion. Yeah, no, they crushed up mummies. But it's weird. It's so strange. The parallel, the disconnect that he's got between, oh, this secret society made these things disappear, and in the past, people bought artifacts and destroyed them for things like mummy dust. Wow.
to cure all kinds of ailments. There was even a paint called Mummy Brown, made from the ground up remains of mummies. Many paintings from that era used Mummy Brown extensively. That fine art on the wall could be made from a dead ancient Egyptian. You can only wonder if somewhere across the world a rich person has a room filled with amazing ancient artifacts, the likes of which we've never seen before, nor can we imagine.
Okay, that's a little bit too dramatic, but sort of one or the other is true. I mean, I guess both can be true, but sort of, I think it's more likely that private collectors have essentially swiped all this stuff or it's gotten lost than there's some big conspiracy to stop us from finding things out, like finding giants or whatever. The choice. Ooh.
Today, the Smithsonian Institution is not one museum, but 23. 2 more were approved by Congress in 2020. Its collection is beyond massive.
Mhm.
In Maryland is a separate warehouse facility called the Museum Support Center, or M.
All right, if he's going to ask us to march on the Smithsonian, I don't know what to say to that. Like, seriously?
SC. It's 845,000 square feet of storage space. That's nearly 15 football fields. It stores all the items that won't fit in the other 23 museums, including new acquisitions. According to former employees, the contents of the warehouse facility are absolutely mind-boggling.
Okay, yeah, I think it would be, especially to sort of paleontologists and people that study that. Have you ever seen a paleontologist or, find a bone? Like, the excitement of a 5-year-old child is how I would describe it, that just got, given their favorite toy. It is incredible to see somebody. It's so wonderful to see somebody so happy they found a bone in the dirt. I'm not that person, but it always is amazing when they do. It's just fantastic. Um, I love to see it. Or a geologist finding a rock. It's a rock, and they're so happy that they found this rock or they found this particular mineral that been looking. Like, yeah, it's mind-boggling. They get sure.
Over its history, the Smithsonian has had a bad catalog, with items missing that should be there. This has
Yeah. You'll find that most museums have missing artifacts and things like that. Very hard to keep track of all of them. Staff members swipe them. Occasionally, they get misdirected to the wrong place, and we find them, later in the thingos. Sometimes things are just stolen. I mean, my favorite artwork is The Scream by Evard Munch, and that was stolen. It was just stolen, right? Somebody swiped it, and it's never been found, ever. It's gone. It's horrible, but it happens. And to private collectors, these things are worth a fortune. It's why the security on them is so good, because you can sell. Things that are worth a lot of money often get swiped. I hate to break it to you, Roger. So it's a cruel world, and it's time you learn the truth. Valuable things get stolen. Please try to keep calm.
This has led to speculation that they're hiding things from the public.
By you. Speculation by you.
People have accused them of hiding skeletons of giants, relics from advanced ancient cultures, pieces of Noah's Ark.
Okay. Oh, this is awesome. That is the Durham site, which the Durham site is really famous because the last time, maybe a couple of times back when I did an ARC debate, I thought they were going to debate. I think the subject was the Ark had been found, and I thought they were going to go to this site, the Durrumpinda site, because it is the one most claimed. It has like a boat shape. The problem with that site, the funny thing was they didn't go to this site. They went to another one entirely, which was totally ridiculous because that one was being completely debunked. But this one, University of California, faculty and students went out there as an excursion, like a school excursion / trip kind of thing, for geology. Their School of Geology sent students and staff there. They did testing and they found that this is limonite. It's not petrified wood. There's no petrified wood anywhere in here. This is actually a natural formation. And the Durrumpinda site's awesome because it's basically, well, it looks like a boat, and it's not. Like the steel fastenings they found, or iron fastenings, they weren't iron. They were naturally occurring limonite. There's no petrified wood. There's, it's not the remains of a boat. It's just a natural formation. That's all it is. But, a lot of the time, what they do is they say, well, it looks like a boat, so it must be a boat. No, that's not how that works. We can investigate and find out what it actually is.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Oh God, if he brings up Ron Wyatt, I'm going to laugh my ass off. Ron Wyatt has claimed to have found everything, including the Ark of the Covenant. I don't know where he put it, but apparently he's claimed to found it. Ron Wyatt's hilarious because he always claims to have found, well, just about everything.
Or even alien technology.
Okay, so where did the alien technology come from? Have we talked about alien technology all throughout this? What? Where did this come from? Number one, that looks like a hat. Okay, that does look like a hat. If you're going by, it looks like a something, and so that looks like a hat. It must be a hat. But I don't remember him talking once about aliens. Where did the aliens come? I'm so confused.
But the explanation for the missing catalog entries may be a lot more mundane. Not only is the collection huge, it grows every week, not just from acquisitions made by the Smithsonian, but items sent from people unsolicited. Imagine thousands of antiques sent by well-meaning people that think the Smithsonian should have them. This creates a non-ending backlog of items to be cataloged, ranging from big artifacts to as small as antique buttons.
Okay, so he just basically said that he just basically went through how it was covering up all this stuff. And now he says, well, in actual fact, it might just be that the catalog's huge, hard to maintain, and more stuff is coming in all the time. Oh, wow, Maximiliano Vischer, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, mate. What a champ. Okay, I'll get ready for this. And Maximiliano Vischer comes in and gives membership to Pragmatic Crystal, Andrew Christopherson, Peter Guns, Big Thank Flying Wayne, Jeff C., Speaklebab Bon Sparta, Joel Hathaway, Aunt Jer, Flat Earth Denier, Toas, Captain Butt, Uncle Charlie, Darren Delaney, Mr. Anderson, Evil Toe, Skirmish, Jason Hyatt, Zisifer, Kiwi Burb, Stephen M. Hawley, Beheaded Kamikaze. Wow, thank you so much, Maximiliano. And I want to thank Maximiliano, who gifted me a membership for Matters Now earlier today. Oh, thank you. You don't have to do that, but I do appreciate it, Maximiliano. Thank you. Look, it took me a few tries. It really did. I did have to, program myself to say. I'm lousy with names. It's a terrible failing. You did, Max. He absolutely did. But yeah, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it. I really do.
It could be that items aren't lost, but are many years away from being officially and properly cataloged. We are left to wonder, what incredible things we don't know about.
There's incredible things in the catalog. Do we need to have? I don't.
Perhaps all that we know about these lost ancient items is shaded by human mistrust. Overactive imaginations that see things that aren't really there. Like simple ink blots on a page with multiple interpretations. Or clouds in the sky where everyone sees something different.
That's pareidolia. You're talking about pareidolia. You're talking about our ability to recognize patterns in things that are mundane. But here's the problem. They're not those things that we see. Okay, that's the whole point about pareidolia. We see these patterns where no patterns exist. That's the whole point of why we study it, because we see these patterns and no such pattern actually exists. It's a flaw in the way that we see them. It's a flaw in our pattern recognition system, because those patterns don't actually exist, but we see them anyway. Wow. Oh, look, I'm all aboard Maximum Max. I'm all aboard Max Max. Max Max for the win.
With no sinister plots involved. Looking deep into the rabbit hole, we have a choice. We can accept that something is down there, something we'll never fully know, content with an unsolved mystery. Or we can jump in and keep crawling, where the only path ahead leads to more and more darkness and bumps against unseen walls.
Or we could send a drone in. Have you considered a drone? Have you considered a drone or a robot? Have you considered throwing a camera down there, like without going in yourself? Have we considered that? I know he's using this as a metaphor, but it's a worst metaphor ever. It's basically saying, well, I'm content with not, like, how are you supposed to falsify? And this is the problem with conspiracy theories. How are you supposed to falsify that conspiracy theory, right? Because it's kind of like, so he's using an analogy of, oh, well, we've got to crawl down the cave to find out what's at the end of it. The problem with these kind of conspiracy theories, that even if you don't find something down this hypothetical cave, the cave goes forever and you can never prove it doesn't exist. It's got no falsification criteria, because when you go down, you can always say, and using his cave analogy, it's further on, and then it's further on, and then it's further on. You will never get to the point of this analogy being the conspiracy theory is an endless cave. You will never get to the point of proving there's nothing in the cave. That's the problem, right? So that's the problem with these rabbit hole things. And his analogy is terrible because caves will come to an end eventually, presumably. Right? At some point, it's finite. You've got to be able to explore all the cave. The conspiracy theory is an endless cave. It's got no end. And you can always say, hey, they covered that up. You're not seeing it because they covered that up. You know, it was taken further down the cave and further. It's an endless night. At some point, you've got to say, well, it's reasonable to say there is nothing there. Or it's reasonable to say that this is just speculation. And sure, we may not have absolute knowledge or know 100% for sure, but this is the way that leads you to bad decisions and bad evaluations, is saying, well, I don't know, so I'm going to assume that it's true because I can't prove it false. That's how conspiracy theories work. It's basically, you can't prove it false, so it must be true. What we should be doing, and what the skeptic will do, is say, we don't believe it's true, until it's been proven to be true. Right? We think that it's false until it's proved to be true. Instead of we believe it to be true, instead until it's proved to be false. Because there's a billion things out there that you can hypothesize that can't be proven to be false. Do you believe there's a teapot around Jupiter? Well, you can't prove it to be false, so it must be true. It's not a good way of going about finding out what's true and what's not.
The choice is yours on which way you want to travel at the rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, I would rather, sure, investigate, I get that, but I would rather have a certain point where I go, well, unless someone can show me that thing down that hole, I'm not going to keep exploring forever because it's endless. There's no falsification in there at all. And if it can't be falsified, why bother? I would rather do a decent investigation and say, well, unless someone can show it to be true, I'm not going to believe it. I think it's false. And it's weird because he went the whole first part of it was like, this is what the Smithsonian is doing. This is what the Freemasons are doing. This is what these people who are scientists are doing and trying to get across to you and trying to dupe you into thinking. And then at the end, he basically goes, maybe there's a more mundane explanation. Things get lost in collections all the time. Yeah. Yeah. And most of the things that he was talking about, it had, like, in the archives, not in the collections currently being shown, but in the archives, it had logbooks of all of these things, which suggests to me that they know where they are. If not in the Smithsonian, that they know where they've been sent to because they have the logbooks for them. Like, this is the thing. I don't know why you would cover up a find by an amateur archaeologist or some kind of archaeologist, destroy the artifact and keep their logbook of it. Like, what kind of conspiracy is that? That's a dumb conspiracy. So yeah, I don't think this is a very particularly good way to evaluate whether something is true. Like, we can't prove it false. It's got to be true. Terrible way to evaluate things. And if if you want to be intellectually consistent, if I make a claim that I have an invisible dragon, you would have to believe that that's true because it can't be proved false. It can't be. If I claim that churches are the result of some conspiracy in the government, you would have to believe it's true because it can't be proved false. That's the point about conspiracy theories. Any evidence to the contrary can be explained as another conspiracy. The government placed that evidence there, or the government took the evidence away showing it. It can always be explained through consecutive levels of conspiracy. That's the problem with them. So people falling down these conspiracy rabbit holes are just sort of, they're looking for a falsification that will never come. That falsification doesn't exist. And a lot of the time, they're not even looking for falsification. They're using sort of confirmation bias to confirm what they think in the first place, which is incredible. It's incredible that this man goes to pareidolia at the end and goes, well, it looks like there's a pattern here. We see patterns in clouds and patterns in, these things yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. But they're not really there. That's what pareidolia is. It's the incorrect pattern recognition of your brain. I mean, it's interesting, but there's no reason to think that it's accurate in describing anything. I don't know. It's really weird. Well, this is probably one's going to end early. I didn't realize I'd get through the video that fast. I thought I stopped it halfway. Maybe I had less to say this time, or maybe I was in stunned silence this time more because of everything that he was saying. But I think all in all, this was a great video. I had a ton of fun watching it just because of the wild claims. And I just so what were the best parts for me? You know what? The best part for me was how aliens just made it into the end. I mean, the thing was about Native Americans, Native American giants, Native Americans having more technology than we thought. No aliens were mentioned anywhere in it. It was all a cover up by the atheists. Actually, that was my other favorite part, where the atheist agenda was covering it up. But, you know, lots of Christian and Islamic people have looked at the Baghdad battery and said, yeah, it's not a battery. So I don't know how they're atheists now, but apparently that maybe the atheist agenda fooled them. Who knows? But my favorite part was just the aliens from nowhere. Like maybe the Smithsonian are covering up giants. Maybe they're covering up ancient techno. Maybe they're covering up aliens. Wait, what? Aliens? Where did that come from? Aliens weren't mentioned at any point in this thing. I just chef's kiss. Aliens from Deus Ex Aliens was just my favorite part. I gotta be. Yeah, maybe I am getting more efficient at debunking them. Yeah, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, Maximiliano. What a champ. What a guy. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give a big thank you, a massive thank you. The person that sent this over was Barnaby, Barnaby Wild, I think. I keep forgetting the last name. Barnaby Wild. Yeah, no, I'm right. I don't know why I'm downing myself. I'm right. But so thank you, Barnaby. This was a delight to do. If you do have any suggestions, my email address is in the channel description. If you hit the description on my channel, it should open up and you can prove you're not a robot. It's vectorslide@gmail.com. So if you want any suggestions, or put them in the comments, I always read them. I try to respond as much as possible, but I do always read them. So if you do have any suggestions, just drop it in there. Links don't work, but you know, if you give the name and who did it on YouTube, I can certainly find it. But yeah, this one was fantastic. You know, just off the cuff, you know, giants and conspiracy, and then aliens for no reason. Just why not, right? Why not? If we're onto a conspiracy, you know, if we're making shit up, let's go hog wild. Why not? Why not? But thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget, and I'll run through. Yeah, thanks to Barnaby, and thank you for the super chat, Barnaby. Thank you to Robin, and thank you to Maximiliano. Awesome people. Yeah, do hit like and subscribe. It helps me out a great deal. Do be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. Let's take care of each other. Yeah, I hope you have a really good day or night or wherever you are. Thank you so much, everybody, and do take care. See you.